Alfred joins me on this stake pool operator highlight interview to share his story and journey into Cardano. He owns a hotel in Barcelona and was the first business in the world to accept ADA as a form of payment. He now plans to take that a step further and integrate in COTI's payment solution. We chat about his mission of the pool, what he's trying to do there, and a few things that he's working on for the Cardano ecosystem and what he's contributing back to the community. But before we get into this interview, please make sure you give us that thumbs up, click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, and you'll hear more great content from us soon. All right, let's get into this interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
I have Alfred joining me from Cardano Hotel Ginebra, all the way from Barcelona, and he's going to talk all about his hotel and some really exciting developments. Alfred, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and looking forward to talk to you.
Right. Now, I've been following you for a while. I think you were one of the very first people that I've followed when I joined Twitter again for the very first time. So you're a hotel owner, and somehow
Correct.
You managed to get into crypto and Cardano. Can you tell me a little bit about your hotel and your exposure to the cryptocurrencies?
Right. So the hotel is called Hotel Ginebra in Barcelona. It's located on the central square of Barcelona, which is called Plaza Catalunya. So it makes a nice picture. And we got exposure in 2017 when initially we learned about Bitcoin, as many other people. And then from Bitcoin we found out that there was this magic thing called altcoins. This was 2017, the ICO time. And it was very exciting because it was a way for us to learn about new projects, like a window on the world. And then at some point we stumbled on like a one-page article about Cardano. By that time, I had already experimented with Bitcoin. I had sort of understood it had many shortcomings. For example, I remember trying to send Bitcoin to a friend of mine in South America, and it took 3 days. It got stuck. Yeah, things like that were happening, and he was explaining why, what the problem. And then when I came across this little one-page article about Cardano, which had a picture of Charles and the other person who was involved at the time, and they looked like two Cambridge professors, very serious, very sort of contrasting to everything else that was happening in crypto, like people blowing their own horns, and making a lot of noise. And they were very serious, and they were saying, well, there's problems when we intend to fix them the academic way. And I thought, those are my guys. So basically started investigating, and then came across the whiteboard, the whiteboard video, as many of us of Charles, and that completely blew me away. And that's how it all started.
To be honest, I have not watched that whiteboard video yet.
Really?
Yes. I've only seen like tiny little bits of it, but I haven't sat down and watched it all from start to end yet. So there's plenty of stuff I have to catch up on, but that is definitely something I haven't caught up on yet. I have, though, caught up on a whole lot of other podcasts and whatnot throughout the last year or so. And I noticed on one of them that you mentioned, I'm pretty sure it was you that said it, that you were accepting ADA as a payment method for your hotel back in
Correct.
2017. And
yes, all the way back in 2017.
And you may have been the very first business that was accepting
Correct.
ADA. Okay, great. So I'd really like to talk about your hotel accepting ADA and businesses in general accepting ADA.
Sure.
All right. So first off, what sparked you to want to accept ADA back then?
It's sort of what I was just telling you about how we discovered Cardano in the project. And basically it was a suggestion of my friend in South America who initially told me about Bitcoin. Once I told him that I had discovered Cardano, I told him about the project. He also got very enthusiastic about it. And it was actually his idea. And he said, well, there's already plenty of businesses in the world that accept Bitcoin. But to my knowledge, there isn't a single one that accepts ADA. So why don't you? And well, it seemed like a great idea. And so we did. We decided to create a wallet and to be able to accept payments. We then successfully sent a tweet to IOHK because obviously it was nice if they knew about it. We imagined, and that went really well because it so happened that they had a friend in Barcelona, sort of a close friend of Charles' relations, a lady called Olga. So she came to the hotel. She interviewed us, sort of to verify that it was all true. And it's actually it's on the blog post of IOHK. If you type in Hotel Ginebra IOHK, then you'll find it on Google, and it says all about us being the first business, etc. And then on the back of that, it just so happened that the timing was perfect. We were talking about the end of 2017 because IOHK had a meeting, a company meeting in Lisbon, I think at the end of January of 2018. So Charles had said, well, Lisbon isn't too far from Barcelona, so invite those guys and come over and come and meet us. So we did, and we met lots of fantastic, wonderful people. We learned a lot about the project, and then at the evening of the first day, we were invited by Charles, and we had dinner with him. And I got a one-on-one private blockchain lesson. So that was very cool.
That's an amazing story. Back in 2018. That's
start of 2018.
Yeah. When the whole crypto markets started crashing. But that's
exactly.
That's an amazing time to actually have a personal dinner with Charles.
I know. You know what is funny is that yesterday, you may not be aware of this, we had 3 technicians of IOHK who came to visit the hotel because currently there's the World Mobile Congress is in town, so they were here for that, and they said, "Hey, can we drop in and come and say hello?" So we did. So we met, and then after I showed them the hotel and told them a little bit about the story, we went for a coffee, and it turned out that the 2 of those guys had only joined IOHK like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So what is to you and me is like part of the history of Cardano.
Yeah.
They didn't even know about it, So it's funny how, as the community grows, you have to keep updating people also not only about the future progress but also about the history of the project. So
yeah, I know. That is a very interesting thing. But yeah, all these little tiny stories like this, it's like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. And I'm glad you shared that. So in regards to accepting ADA, how have you found it? Have people used it as an option for payment for the hotel since 2017?
Well, the thing is, when we met, obviously we were really enthusiastic about it, and straight away I imagined I wanted to have ADA integrated in the reservation flow of the hotel. Right? So when we were in Lisbon meeting Charles, and there was also a delegation of Emergo there, I remember having a meeting. We were introduced to lots of people. We had a meeting about exactly this topic, like how we're going to do this. And I was explaining what it is that we would like to do. But the technology didn't even exist at the time, because Cardano was in such a young stage. So the only way that we've been able to do it was accepted by people just actually physically being in a hotel with like a wallet and standing in front of the reception and making a transfer, which would then arrive in our wallet. That's the only way to do it. So consequently, after the announcement that we were accepting ADA, there was quite a bit of hype. We had also people that were staying in other hotels. They just came and visit, and I remember one Japanese gentleman who was proudly showing us his iPad with his wallet and the amount of ADA that he owned, and he said, "This is my retirement money." He was really super excited. But that sort of died off a little bit after a few months, because the point being that people would send me an email and saying, "Hey, I know that you guys are accepting ADA." And then we would say yes. Okay, so I would like to make a reservation for this and this date, and I can pay with ADA. Yes. What type of room do you have? And the process is very long, because by that time they would get bored and they would make their reservation on Booking.com or Expedia or what have you. So it sort of stayed in those early stages. And then when we time ago when we again considered getting in touch with IOHK about trying to integrate the flow, the payment process, we got struck by COVID, and the hotel has been So the hotel has now been closed for 1.5 years. So we're waiting to reopen and then see what the future brings.
Okay. So I'm just trying to see, did anyone come into the hotel and make live payments? They did? Okay, great. Okay.
Correct.
So back then, the price also did fluctuate a little bit. So how did you deal with the price fluctuations when accepting ADA? So one day it might be worth, back then maybe like 10 cents, and then the next day it's worth 5. So how do you pay your staff and costs when those fluctuations?
No, I mean the volume wasn't such that it wasn't posing any problems, because you were really talking at the time about like the odd random payment that we might accept, and so we just sort of put it aside. The same way you do, like, I mean, in our hotel, most payments are being made by credit card payments, but then some people might pay in cash, and so whoever was paying in ADA, we just sort of considered that to be a cash payment, and we didn't worry too much about it because, like you said, ADA was very low at the time. So we thought, well, we'll just keep it, and one day it'll go back up again, and it has, as you know. So but it wasn't a problem just because of the time and the low rate of ADA and just the lack of volume of transactions.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, because at the moment now, because it's worth a lot more, you see these payment gateways out there.
Exactly.
That accept it, but then they convert it to fiat currency as well at that point in time.
Correct.
So I was wondering if you had to do that, but no, you held on and made more money. I'm assuming.
No, I mean, even if we had wanted to, it didn't exist at the time.
Yeah.
Technology wasn't there yet. So the only real option was just to say, okay, we're just accepting some ADA. We're putting it away and then maybe one day it'll go up, and it has. So I mean, we made a bit of money on it, so it's great.
That's fantastic. All right. So I also saw on one of your tweets, you announced that you're talking to a company that does do the payments, and a company that IOHK or IOG have a partnership with, and that's COTI.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about what's going on there and what you have planned?
Yes. Well, we've had a couple of meetings, but really we're in the preliminary stages. But obviously, like I said before, I'm considering the integration of ADA payments, because we're talking about ADA Pay probably. I mean, this is the main product, and what I would like to do is integrate it into the reservation flow, so that whatever happens at our hotel can be like a prototype for direct reservations with other hotels anywhere in the world. At the moment, I think the first thing that we will try and look at will be reservations that will come directly off our website, because then you don't have any third party involved, So just to simplify it. Then the second thing, there's a thing called channel management, channel managers, which will grab any type of reservation that comes from any platform, and they will then push it through to us as a hotel, the receiving end. So the next thing would be interesting from COTI's point of view would be to make a direct contract with such providers, because by doing that they can then push their products to maybe like hundreds or thousands of hotels. So what we've done at the moment is we actually had a meeting this morning, like a Zoom meeting, with a very great gentleman called Tamir. And we agreed that he will send me a demo to show me where they are now. I will make a little outline of a reservation flow of what it is that I need as a hotel. And then we'll just try and match up the two things, and see how it works out. So.
Cool. That's really exciting to hear, and exciting for them as well if they do manage to hook into, those third-party aggregators such as Expedia or Booking.com. Just opens up a whole new market for them. But
Yes, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's actually one of those travel providers called Travala, and I think they do accept payment in certain cryptocurrencies. One of them being ADAOZ,
okay,
Travala. Yeah.
very, very cool, very exciting times. Okay, so you're really busy with your hotel at the moment, I know as well, because you're just about to reopen. What's the reopening date?
I wish I could tell you we were aiming for the first. Yeah, because I mean we were aiming for the 1st of July, but you have to understand that when the pandemic hit, we were just sort of thinking, well, it might be a couple of months and then things will go back to normal. Meanwhile, it's been a year and a half. So at some point, we had to get rid of all our expenses. So we cut off gas, electricity, internet, everything imaginable. To cut it off is one phone call. To get it back switched on again is weeks or possibly even in certain cases even like up to a month. So we're at the stage now. We finally managed to get everything switched back on again, and we have several apartments in the building where we run the hotel. And the only thing that we're short of is the internet connection in one of the apartments. And then we're finally done. So when this is finally finished, meanwhile, we're going around doing little touch-ups and painting and putting Cardano art around the hotel. It's obviously because we're also rebranding it, not just reopening, we're actually rebranding it as a Cardano hotel. And maybe I'm hoping that maybe next week we can finally sit down and then try and get our head around what's happening in tourism at the moment. Is there enough business for us to be able to reopen in July, or if not, we have to push it forward to August, because opening is one thing, but opening and trying to avoid losing money is another thing. So
it's an incredibly hard position that you're in, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry for yours and any business that's in the tourism sector that has been affected by the last year's pandemic.
Yes.
So it's fingers crossed you do get to open again and people do want to travel and they feel safe.
There is a bit of good news actually, because I mean you're in Australia, so you may not be aware of this. That today on July the 1st, finally the European vaccination passport has come out. So now, which means that you can download a QR code, and then only with that you can show it on your phone, and then you should be able to travel anywhere within the European Union. And
Wow,
I think
okay.
yes, so that might make a big difference, because especially in the summertime, our main markets is Europe. So like inter-European travel, like Germany, England, France, whatever. And that's happening today. So I guess we just have to, wait and see what happens maybe the next 10 days, 2 weeks, and see where it takes us,
All right. Fingers crossed. That is really good news. There's always that controversy around the passport thing that governments are tracking us, or they're tracking us already. It's okay.
Yeah, I think we're being tracked for a long time. So
yes. All right. Well, fingers crossed that all works out in tomorrow, and people start knocking on your door. Just the little internet connection that you need. So you are a very busy man, and you also are working on a couple of other projects, and one of them was Cardano Hubs. And I think I was introduced to this a couple of months ago when you first released it. And I went, all right, I'll jump on that, and I'll list the podcast on there and see how it goes.
Sure.
Can you give us the elevator pitch and tell us a little bit about what Cardano Hubs is and what you're doing with it?
Right. So Cardano Hubs was actually it sort of originated as like a hobby project, because I started doing a podcast, and there's like another story. Anyway, I had a couple of different ideas. Podcast being one of them. Another thing was Club Cardano, because it occurred to me that us being the first business in the world to ever accept ADA, I'll be very interested to know which other businesses in the world would also accept ADA, or even which businesses are powered by Cardano technology. Because if I know that the bakery around the corner is accepting ADA, it allows me to construct some kind of marketing initiative, or suddenly many things become possible. So this is the sense of Club Cardano. Basically, it's a place where any business that either accepts payment in ADA or is powered by Cardano technology can just sign up. It's free, and it's just thought of as like a community resource. So basically it's saying, hey, we exist, and then you can all find each other and you can talk to each other, and then and create like new projects and what have you. It's a bit in development. Then there's also the Cardano Hotel podcast. That sort of started as me interviewing fellow stakeholders, because we also have a stakeholder called Hotel, appropriately called Hotel.
Good name. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And because a long time ago there was a bit of a controversy between the stakeholders that were in first, and then all the small ones that came after, due to the parameters of the protocol. It was difficult to get started. So I thought it might be a nice idea to sort of introduce all the people from the community to everybody else, and to give everybody a bit of a fair shot. That sort of ran its time, because initially we were talking about a couple of hundred stakeholders, and now we're talking about maybe 3,000.
Yeah.
So there's no way possibly I could even think about interviewing like a small part
Sure,
of it.
you can. Why not?
Well, I don't want to.
It's a lot.
It's it's too much. No, but now we're evolving, because now there's NFTs, and very soon there will be smart contracts, and the last 3 podcasts that I did were actually presenting projects, and which is also interesting for me. And I think at this point in time is also interesting for the Cardano community, because this is now where the ecosystem is going to grow in all directions, and very hard to keep up. There's so much happening now. So I would like to do my little bit, just like you are probably, and people are actually coming to me. They're approaching me and say, "Hey, we got this project. Would you like to interview us?" And well, yep, great, because it's just another way to get exposure, and for me to learn about it. It's like a two-way thing, So.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So your podcast is all on YouTube, and the channel is growing. So what do you have planned for it then? So I heard you mention a little bit about a podcasting room and whatnot, which is pretty cool.
Correct. Because the previous podcast I've been doing the way you see me sitting down, but maybe using a green screen. But now in the current renovation and rebranding of the hotel, we also looked at how to be able to do things differently. And my idea would be to try and step away from the day-to-day running of the hotel, and really go 100% Cardano, because it's just so much more challenging and interesting and fascinating and educational and exciting, and whatever. So so one of the rooms in the hotel, we've evacuated it. There are some artists that sort of sprung out of nowhere. You'll see them on Twitter, and people are making art, and they're going to send it over, and this is also happening. So one of the rooms will be like a dedicated podcast room. You yourself had a couple of suggestions about what to use, for the technique and the microphone and the padding and stuff. So that's one. And then another room will be like a meeting room. And we're also in talks with IOHK about maybe wanting to rent large parts of the hotel for the second part of the year. So it makes sense that if they would come over, or all the tech companies, that they would have a space to to work, and then maybe one day we can do Cardano meetups and all kinds of activities. So really, the idea is what was first or only in name like a Cardano hotel. Really, we would like to convert it into like a Cardano hub. Yeah. Also, the Cardano hub, and then also match it with the website, which is called Cardano Hubs. So that's sort of the idea behind it.
That is a really cool and exciting vision. And with the borders, I'm really hoping opening up soon, at least within the next 6 months, when more people get vaccinated, these passports come into play, and people can actually travel. And maybe one day we're going to see a summit actually happen. This year's summit is going to be held in September, so fingers crossed that the whole environment
in Wyoming.
Yep. And but I believe there was talk about having like little satellite communities and whatnot,
Correct.
and that's been connected in. I'm really hoping
Yeah.
one happens here.
We've also been approached, so hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah.
So
There we go. Excellent. That's what I wanted to hear. So a little hub thing that's happening from the Cardano Hub
Correct.
itself. All right, cool. All right. You got
Yeah.
some work to do.
We're busy.
Right. So you're hopefully going to get that set up. I'm going to travel to Barcelona and visit you and check out all this really cool things that you're doing. Now, you mentioned that you have a stake pool called Hotel, and it does a little bit of charity work on the side as well. Is that correct?
Yes, and about time as well, I have to say. And as a matter of fact, the first donation has happened on the June 21st. Rather than going for like an existing big project, rather than hooking up, one of the people that I work with is located in Bangladesh. So we became friends. I got to know him before Cardano. He's my web developer, master, whatever you want to call it. And he told me a lot about local, about the situation on the ground in Bangladesh. It's like getting like a real, feedback. And the project is called Forward for Food, and it's basically just a food donation project. So we made the first charity action on the June the 21st. It was also documented on Twitter with images, etc. And the second one should take place tomorrow, on July the 2nd, in the capital, somewhere in Dhaka, in Bangladesh. And it's high time. It's something that has been spinning around my head for a long time. It's somehow too busy, but it's you have to finally what's the term in English? You have to sort of be responsible, when it comes to being part of Cardano, I guess. So it can't be all talk, it has to be a little bit of action. So
yes, I know what you mean. So it's an interesting approach. There's a lot of charity and mission-driven pools in the space, and I see a lot of them not even minting blocks yet, not making any money. So they're paying for server costs. They're doing all their marketing and whatnot, but they're also doing donations at this point as well. And I just find that model a little bit hard to see being sustainable until they actually get to a certain size where they actually can donate. So it's I know for me it's really hard to see other pools just donating and giving away money before they're sustainable themselves and actually can.
I agree, because otherwise it can turn into like a race about who's being most charitable,
Yeah.
And but it's hard, where do you strike the balance between generally wanting to be charitable and using this as a tool for your own stake pool? It's sort of where do you strike that balance, and then how are you able to afford it even? So. But I guess sometimes the investment goes ahead of the returns, So if they want to invest their own money and not make any blocks yet and take a chance on growing, then why not? Why not? But I know what you mean. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. So these pools are running a race to the bottom. I feel they're zero fees. They've only got that 340 fixed fee that's applied to their pool, and they're donating more money, and hopefully that donation is that marketing cost to try and drive attraction.
But then what is the alternative, Peter? Because I know that the mission-driven pools are highly successful because people like the idea that as a company you are trying to do a little bit of good in the world. But I mean, what's the alternative? I mean, how many ways are there to market your stake pool? So, and I guess if you want to set up your own charity project, you just do it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, before I even knew what Cardano was, we were doing charity as a hotel as well, as a little business. Many businesses are anyway. So it just so happens that now the hotel is closed, and now unfortunately making money with the stake pool. So now that's where the donations are coming from, you know what I mean? But it's just a matter of perspective. And if you decided you want to do it, go for it, and good things will happen to you. That's all I can say.
Well, I like your approach. You more so grew the pool first with a focus of, hopefully donating at some point in time when you get to a good size. What how big is the pool now? The delegation size?
Delegation is now about 25 million.
Yeah.
What is interesting, it is at some point it has grown to about 40 million. I don't know exactly why. Maybe because I haven't been able to invest a lot of time in it lately because I've been too busy running circles around myself in the hotel, trying to,
Yeah.
to put the hotel back together. What was also interesting is that we were one of the hotels that was selected for a what's it called with IOHK, when they delegate for a delegation of 3.2 million.
Yeah.
Actually, and then at some point they removed the delegation. So when they removed the delegation, the pool went down a lot further than it had gone up as a result of the delegation in the first place. Ooh. So I'm just kind of wondering, I don't know if this is just my personal experience or if other pools have the same experience, because I find that growing it takes a lot more effort than going down, So
oh yeah, most definitely. That's really interesting. Our pool has the IOG delegation at the moment as well, so it's
right.
Yeah. It is growing. It's definitely is growing and growing at a good pace. And I am afraid of when it leaves. I looked into other pools that got the delegation as well, such as yours, and some of them did manage to grow. Some had the delegation at the 3.2, managed to get to 3.6, and then everything got taken away.
I think the delegation is great for pools that can't get off the mark. That are struggling just around the mark of getting the first block. I think that should be the criterion. That wasn't the case with us because we already had like a reasonable amount of money of ADA delegated to us. We still got the boost, so thank you very much. But it was kind of besides the point. We didn't really need it. All we had to do is put in more energy and more marketing, and the universe maybe being generous with us and whatever. So I think it's good to try and get a pool off the mark.
Yeah.
But then it's up to you. You just have to push it, and it's a competitive business. It's a business model, and you have to compete.
It is definitely all focused around how you run a business, how you run a stake pool.
Yep.
I'm just we're like we said a little bit earlier, 2,800 pools at the moment, still growing every single day, and
which is great.
Yeah, it really decentralizes the network, it strengthens it and whatnot. But some of these, I'm just making a general assumption and a future prediction that a lot of those pools won't make it, that won't last. And with the K parameter at the moment set to 500, even though if that was increased to 1,000, there's still all those other pools that aren't needed technically on the network to make it operate. So will it last? I don't know.
Great. I don't know either. I can only think that I only know that as a business, being a business owner, the same goes for my hotel business. It goes for my stake pool. It's a continuous renovation, continuous reinventing yourself, and if you can manage that, then you'll be successful. If not, then you'll just be somewhere in the middle, and that's okay.
Yep. Okay. So over the years, you've must have been connected with quite a few people now. It's since being in the space since 2017. Obviously, you've connected with Charles back in 2018, and you've interviewed all sorts of people since. What are some people that have connected and helped you along this journey to get your pool and your business and whatnot to where it is now?
Yeah. Well, actually, the first person I should mention, and I can't mention him by name because he doesn't like any publicity, is actually the actual technical stake pool operator. He's the guy that took me on board, a long time ago, for no reason whatsoever, just because I guess he liked me or he liked the hotel, the idea of that. Because I would not have been able to do it on my own. I'm not a technical person. I have all the skills. And then after that, it's very hard to single anybody out because everybody has been incredibly supportive, maybe because of the fact that we had a lot of goodwill because of the fact that we were the first business in the world to ever except ADA, now we're turning it into a Cardano Hub and things like that. So if I were to single anybody out, it wouldn't be fair to all the other people.
Yep.
I think I have like 200 people on my private, on my DM, and I have general, not with everybody all day long, because that's the only thing I would be doing. But somebody will sort of, fade out, and the next person arrives. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I have somebody now, which is a Twitter handle is Timonius, if I pronounce it incorrectly, but he'll know. And this is an artist from Cornwall, and he's just making all this art to put up in a hotel, and
yep.
support is just never ending. So yeah. So I just feel incredibly fortunate to have a business, to be running a business, which in a way is like an extension of the Cardano project itself. And the support is just incredible, So it's hard. Yes.
I'd really love to see some of this artwork as after you've set up the rooms and stuff.
Yes.
So maybe we'll catch up at some point in time.
Yes.
And when it's all ready, and you'll take us on a virtual tour of the hotel and of the artwork and all these people that you've connected with. I know one project which I'm after next is the Mad in Art guys.
Yep.
That you've spoken to a little bit over on the podcast, and I will get into contact with them next, I believe, and see what they're doing there in regards to the art community and the NFT space.
As a matter of fact, I was also part of the project. I had to step out. I don't know whether it's temporarily or not, because of I'm just too busy. Like now trying to set up a hotel is a huge task. And I didn't think it was appropriate to stay in a project where I wasn't able to pull my weight, but I love the project. So, it's about giving artists a chance of basically creating like a different form of revenue for themselves by means of NFT. And they are really focusing on fine art mostly, and rather than pixel art, or like collectible art and things like this. It just so happens that I have sort of a little bit of an interest for fine art, also through the other podcast that I'm also doing, the Cardano Artist Corner podcast, which is how we met with Mad and Art guys. And so there's like another inroads that suddenly appeared out of nowhere because of Cardano, and now I'm making lots of connections into the art world, which was never part of my personal experience, So Cardano has given me many gifts, it just keeps giving. So
you put out into the world, create opportunities, and it will come back, hopefully tenfold. That's the idea.
Apparently, I honestly have to say I've never seen that be more true than being part of this Cardano community. So whatever you give, you just get it back like fivefold, tenfold. So
wow, okay, amazing. So how can people find out more about your hotel and your multiple podcasts and your stake pool?
Yes. Well, with the exception of the hotel, everything is sort of presented in CardanoHubs.com 3.0, because we just did like a revision. So now it's sort of a bit more presentable, a bit more clear what it's all about. And then there is the hotel website, which is hotelginebra.com.es. But that still needs to be revamped, a lot. We haven't even got to that point yet, because with all the things happening inside the hotel, then that will also have to reflect on the website. So, you can make reservations when the time is right, but in terms of images and things like this, we're like 1 or 2 months away from that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So the website for the hotel, your Cardano Hubs, and I believe people can find you on YouTube by searching for what exactly?
The Cardano Hotel podcast is one of them, which is where we will go soon. Hopefully, soon go back to introducing Cardano-based projects. And then there's the currently very small Cardano Artist Corner, but we're hoping to grow it. We decided to make a separate YouTube channel, just because I think on the long run it might have big potential, simply because of the fact there's a lot more people in the world that like art than people that know about Cardano. So I think that has a reason to exist by itself, but we have to go back and push it, and I think when we have this conversation again 5 years from now, then we'll see where we are with it. So hopefully, yeah.
All right, brilliant. Awesome. Alfred, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I'll make sure all those references are in the show notes and in the description for the YouTube video. Again, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and having you on the podcast.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be on the podcast. I know I've been creating some delays and some technical difficulties, and it might have been frustrating for you to have me as a guest, but I'm happy we finally made it. So I'm looking forward to hopefully the next one. So all the best with the show.
Great. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you so much, Alfred, for joining me on this episode. Stake pool operators make up a huge portion of the Cardano community, and I'd love to give back to those stake pool operators. If you are an operator, please reach out to me. Let me know what you're doing in the community, how you're contributing back, and what your story is. And I'll select a random stake pool operator to join me on this podcast episode to share and highlight those stake pool operators. So please make sure you reach out to me, leave a comment, reach me on Twitter, and we'll tee something up. But if you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please make sure you give us that thumbs up, click that subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and you'll hear more great content from us soon. All right.